Well, good morning, everybody. Let's call this meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Whipper,
Here.
Elo Rivera. Vargas is absent and Hall is absent. Moreno.
Present.
Bush is absent and Goebel is absent. Chair, we do not have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We are also pleased to have Laura Cavall, the Vice Mayor of Santee, with us this morning. Welcome and thank you for joining us this morning. Let's go ahead and move to non-agenda public comment. This provides 2 minutes for anyone who would like to comment on something that is not on today's agenda, but is within the purview of MTS. Clerk, do we have any non-agenda public comment?
We do. The original DRA. Please unmute yourself now.
Sorry, I lost my, yeah, so what's going on with these lithium batteries that you guys want to use with everything? It's just kind of interesting. I mean, the city council in San Diego was having, you guys had your meeting about, or the public safety committee did, about how, dangerous they are. They're the combustible, all of these things. And it's just sad that we're still continuing to push this kind of technology when they're literally bombs that are, people are getting in and, driving around in. And if there's any kind of accident, I mean, you can't put these fires out. So I don't understand why we even want to go down this path, acting like it's going to save the environment when even just to, mine for the materials is toxic to the environment and the people that do it. And, where I just feel like this is setting people up to be, a part of an accident that will, start a fire that can't go out. I mean, even China, I was telling you guys yesterday at the city council or whatever that, or the other day, whatever, that China has a bunch of these programs where they can create all of these vehicles and bikes, and they're just putting them in basically a landfill that could totally put a fire that will never be put out. I just don't understand why we're messing literally with fire, acting like, we're get to that
30
issue when it
seconds left.
comes. That's just very negligent, and you're, having people work for this entity and you're putting them in these types of vehicles. And it's completely unsafe. I just don't understand why we ignore that. I mean, I do, because you guys have your agenda, but more people need to pay attention because you're putting them in danger. So I don't know if you need to get them some kind of crazy insurance or something so that they're covered. I don't know. I mean, if you blow up, I guess there's nothing you can do.
Your time has
but yeah.
expired. Chair, that concludes public comment.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes. We're going to take that out of order in a few minutes. And first, we're going to move on to our discussion and report items. And we're going to begin with item number 4, which is the Ridership Recovery Action Plan. And we're going to invite Mark Olson and Quincy Marin to present this item.
Well, thank you very much, Chair, and thank you to the Executive Committee for giving us this opportunity to present on ridership recovery. We've provided the Board and Executive Committee with periodic updates about how we're doing with ridership, and also provide you with information and get feedback on what our next steps are and what our plans are and how we're going to get there. And so this is the latest rendition of that. So we'll get right into it. Presentation is going to go into 3 different sections. So we have just a ridership update, where we are now. Then we're going to talk about some special events that are taking place that we think have really contributed to helping us recover some of the ridership loss from the pandemic. And then we're also going to be talking about an upcoming 3-year marketing campaign that we're looking to embark on here in the near future. And we've done some similar campaigns to this in recent times over the past 6 to 7 years. We did it with another effort called Choose Transit. This was 6 or 7 years ago, and there was just some social wind shifting in more supportive transit. Cities were passing climate action plans. There was just more people out there supporting transit than there ever were before. And we were also making some operational improvements at the same time. We were going through a transit optimization plan process, streamlining routes, making the service more efficient. And so we had a marketing campaign element to that called Choose Transit. Another one we did was called Elevate SD. This was associated with an expenditure plan we were developing for a ballot measure as well as a public participation effort. And so we went through that process then. And then a third one that we did was during the pandemic called Clean Ride, where we were highlighting some of the operational changes and improvements that we're making to make sure the system was sanitized for the public when that was very top of mind during the pandemic. And so we want to talk to you about our latest efforts to do a 3-year marketing campaign. But just going right into ridership first, you can see from that bottom red line, that is ridership in FY22, and it was a little bit below 60 million at that point. The next two lines, the yellow line is for our projected ridership at the beginning of FY23. The green line is where we ended up at the end of FY23. So as you can see, we outpaced our projections that we had last fiscal year. So we were very impressed with that, considering that we had a workforce stoppage in the South Bay that really hurt ridership, particularly on the bus side at the end of the fiscal year. So even with that, we were still able to outpace our projections. But as you can see, there's still a lot of work to be done. I mean, there is a delta between the blue line and the green line. That blue line represents what it was pre-pandemic. So we still have some work to do to get back to the pre-pandemic levels of ridership and beyond. But this last fiscal year of getting to 68.5 million passenger trips, I think was a great accomplishment. And I think it really bodes well for us moving forward into the future. Digging down to it a little bit further, as you can see, compared to FY22 there on the right, the column on the right side, we're in double digits pretty much the whole year last year of outpacing ridership. So I think so month after month, we were very strong in beating our FY22 numbers. So I think that's very good. But as you can see, as we get into March, April, and then May and June, when that work stoppage really came into full swing, ridership dropped, at that last month. But even with that, we were still doing much better than we were in FY22. And again, we're very proud of that. And one of the big things I think this really relates to is special events. There's been over 300 special events since March 2022 that MTS has provided extra service, enhanced service levels to accommodate the special events. And I think that's really a testament to our rail operations team and being able to do that. I mean, these events aren't happening all at the same time every night. I mean, there's different start times, different end times, different locations. And so they've really been able to have a flexible but effective operating plan to effectively serve each one of these special events. I mean, some of the recent success that we've had too, you can see here, we've had some of our highest ridership days at Snapdragon Stadium in the past couple of weeks. You see the Coldplay concerts. Both were right around 8,000 fans. Guns N' Roses was at 4,700, and Pink was the highest ridership event that we've had at Snapdragon Stadium, and 8,200 fans. And that stadium's been open a little over a year now, so I think the fans are really becoming accustomed to taking the trolley to that location. And, you think of that location and then also Petco Park. I mean, the trolley is very much perfectly situated to serve two of the largest venues in San Diego. And so we've really done a great job, I think, at capitalizing on that and trying to take full advantage of that. And we look to see that ridership grow too, but we are taking about 20 to 25% of the gate of fans that are either going to Petco Park typically or going to Snapdragon Stadium. So we are very happy with how special events have played into ridership recovery. Another promotion that we did was Free Ride Day last week, which was very successful. This was the 6th time that we've held Free Ride Day. It's really a great opportunity for people to rally around transit, get behind it. We really reach out to a lot of our stakeholders and the community-based organizations that we work with to help spread the word and increase ridership that way. There was a lot of families traveling all over, just having fun, with their kids, taking transit. As you can see in this picture, this was one that was taken by our team, just showing a joyride that a family was going on for a day. So, and we saw a lot of that out there. So that was really good, as well as a lot of extra commuters. But we hit 281,000 trips on that particular day, and that was really close to our pre-pandemic level right there. So we're kind of getting up there really close to that. And so we're pleased to see that. And it was a 10% increase in ridership over the daily average that we have right now. And it was a 5.7% increase over Free Ride Day in FY22. So we're getting better and better. I think we're really chipping away at this ridership gap that we experienced due to the pandemic. Here's some interesting stats too. In the week of September 25th, we averaged 256,000 passengers. That was 91% of the pre-pandemic average. Our average is about 283,000 passenger trips per weekday, before the pandemic hit. And that was our highest total here that we've had since the pandemic, since the shutdown took place. So I think that's another testament that we're really getting close to really recovering that ridership. This was helped by, UC San Diego back in session, those Coldplay concerts that I mentioned. And then we also had La Mesa Oktoberfest, which we really did some great marketing efforts, I think. And then operationally, there was extra service put out on the line there to serve that event. And that went really well. On the Orange Line ridership on that particular Saturday of the 3-day event increased from 16,000 riders, which is our average there, to 18,000 on that particular Saturday. So that's really good. And then what's not included in this presentation, we just got this information from planning, but just the week of October 2nd. So 1 week later, our weekday average was 264,000 passengers. So that's 94% of the pre-pandemic baseline. So we even got closer the week after this as well. So really good news on the ridership front. But, we're not done. There's still a lot of work to be done, in our opinions. And we've been working hard on a couple of fronts here. There's been 2 very significant developments. We've done a lot of research over the last couple of years. And then also some funding opportunities that have been in front of us just recently. And so I'll talk to that a little bit. With research, we really have just trying to been tapping into our riders and seeing what they want to see from our system. What can we do better operationally and from just how we serve the public? And so we did a customer satisfaction survey in 2022. And then we also in 2023 had the social equity listening tour. We did some focus groups with our riders about security and what they wanted to see there. And then we also did some focus groups with MTS employees. And I think a lot of the findings that we heard were all around the customer experience and making it just a better experience to ride transit. So I think that was some really good intelligence that we got from our riding public. But the research is that we're going to continue that into 2024. We have another customer satisfaction survey that's going to be taking place. And then we're also going to be doing some special surveys for people who rode the system before and aren't riding now for some reason, or riders or people who just don't ride at all, and seeing what we can do there to gain some ground and get more people riding transit. On the funding side of it, there's a fare revenue. So obviously there's that correlation between more people riding means more fare collection that we can do and more funding that we can then invest back into our services. There's also our standard local, state, and federal sources that we have. There's also some federal COVID stimulus funding that we still have that helps us bridge the gap with the financial gap that we're experiencing right now. And then new funding that's become available, or that will be coming available soon, is from state legislation, SB 125, the state transportation funding, which Sharon presented some high-level information in a spending discussion at the Budget Development Committee on September 13th. But MTS is set to receive approximately $284 million over 4 fiscal years. So it's like, what can we do with that funding? And I think really using the research and having that funding available is really going to play well to help ridership recover even more and get us back to the pre-pandemic, but then also beyond that too, is what we think. So with that, I'll hand it over to Quincy Marin, our creative design manager, and she can present the next steps with the campaign development that'll go along with some of these operational changes that we may have with this funding.
Okay, thanks, Mark. So we've done this research. We've got, the anticipated funding coming. And internally, we've identified over 30 projects that are in various stages right now of development that are coming up. So it's kind of an exciting time. The projects fall into these categories for the most part: communications, safety, cleanliness, and service levels. And so for us in the marketing department, this is kind of a really exciting opportunity to take all of these projects that we know are coming and get this out to the public, and through developing this campaign. And we're really focused, these projects are really focused on the customer experience. So the questions that we've kind of asked with developing this campaign: how do we reconnect with former riders and attract new riders? How do we capitalize on all these identified improvements over the next couple of years to yield positive ridership and revenue results? And how can we use this time of transition with all this new stuff happening to redefine and reshape how our community views MTS and our service? So looking at this through the experience lens, it's a great time to highlight all these improvements to attract new riders, to highlight how we're improving the day-to-day riding experience, and hopefully just continuing to build brand loyalty within our community. It's also a really interesting opportunity we feel internally to regather as an agency and recommit to our shared vision and all these goals coming ahead. We really want to internally empower all of our employees to kind of join this effort in focusing on the ridership experience and how we can make it better. So the objectives of this marketing campaign, pretty simple. It's awareness, create awareness that the MTS experience is better now, and increase ridership. Okay, so our target audiences, who we're kind of, focused on for our campaign. Male and female, 25 to 55, which is pretty broad, but we have 3 categories of people. Our existing riders, who we feel value MTS as a service, but we want to acknowledge they probably have had negative experiences on MTS in the past. So that's always, with our existing riders. Our former riders, they're familiar with MTS services, probably rode prior to the pandemic. Also values MTS as an option for transportation, has other choices. And also with our former riders, we want to acknowledge they probably have also had negative experiences that have influenced their decision to stop riding. And then our non-riders, we feel that our non-riders, they take pride in the San Diego community. They understand the importance of MTS and the services that we provide to elevate our region. But they're financially secure. They don't need, transit. They're not dependent on transit for getting where they need to go. And we also feel like this group may have misconceptions about transit, that it's difficult to ride or it's unsafe or it doesn't go where they want to go. So those are kind of the challenges that we see with our audiences. And this is our campaign that we're presenting to you today. It's Now Better Transit. So this key message of Now Better Transit, how did we get there? Basically, we asked ourselves, what are we competing against? And where we got to was we're competing against ourselves. It's MTS versus MTS. We're competing against this outdated perception that of what transit is, and it's not keeping up with the innovations and improvements that have happened recently and all the stuff that's coming in the next couple of years. So basically what we're saying is transit is better today than it was before, and whatever before means to all these audiences, maybe 2 years ago, 10 years ago, it's better today. And the key messages that we're hoping to communicate in our campaign, starting with the reintroduction of MTS. Who are we? Where do we come from? What are we doing? How have we changed over the years? Then what's changed? What's improved? What's happening right now? And we really do want to focus this campaign on the present. Not what's happened, not too much what's happened in the past, not what's happening way out in the future, but what's actually happening today and changing here at MTS. The campaign voice, we really want this to come from MTS. So we are changing for you, our riders, right now. So it's first person coming from us. Quick, intelligent. This is sort of a no nonsense campaign. We're not bogging this down with anything too serious. And hopefully in longer format opportunities, we can incorporate a storytelling narrative as well. Okay, so we have a concept video that we wanted to show you that I think will probably do, it's the best way for us to sort of show you what this voice is and our messaging. We put this together in my design department. Marcial Gutierrez, our multimedia designer, pulled this together. Yeah, you did an excellent job. So here we go.
We're the San Diego Metropolitan Transit System, but call us MTS. We're not really strangers, are we? You've been riding with us for a while, or maybe you've seen us around town. But we've changed so much over the years that we might need an introduction. So here it goes. It all began 130 years ago, looking like this. 6 cars, 20 horses, and one mission: to provide safe and reliable transit for a growing San Diego. Over the years, we upgraded from horses to steam engines to electric trolley cars running on rails. Then came the buses. In the 1950s, San Diego's growth was off the charts. Let's say off the rails, because the trolley tracks got ripped out. Then in the 80s, they got put back again and again and again. Yep, the 80s were awesome. In fact, we were the first modern light rail system in North America. Since then, we've expanded even more with 750 buses, 165 trolleys serving 10 different cities in San Diego. You can ride with us on this trolley, or you can ride with us on this bus, or this one also. You can ride with us to your job or a night out in the town or out of town. We are over 3,000 employees and contractors, operators, drivers, mechanics, accountants, security officers, customer service, facilities, planners, and marketing. We run 7 days a week, including holidays. We're a public agency, so everything we do is to make your life better. Every day we meet new riders. We also see familiar faces. Now you know us. We're making lots of changes to make your ride on transit better. Ride with us and find out for yourself why MTS Now is better transit.
Okay, so that's sort of a taste of the direction of this campaign and how we want to communicate to our audiences. And some more static examples, just with our immediate projects that are already happening just later this week, with Rapid 227, we would incorporate this into everything we're doing. So this kind of becomes our tagline, as you can see here on this example, just to sort of boost the brand awareness and, you know, in small ways, remind people of the changes that we're making. And then obviously for upcoming projects, as things come online, this is going to become more of a highlight for us. Now Better Transit, say for more officers coming, more officers, more safety, Now Better Transit, and how we're improving.
Okay, so for the next few slides, we just want to talk about like a high level look forward as to where we see this going over the next year. And we're doing this in 3 phases to start with, and then we'll probably do a check-in halfway through, see how it's going, see what we need to improve upon, what can be done differently. But we think this is a good path forward to get this off the ground. So the first phase would be this reintroduction that Quincy had mentioned, focusing on our brand awareness, developing a curiosity for some of the improvements that are going on, and just overall pride in the transit system. And I think this is really geared towards our current riders, people who are used to the system, like it, take a lot of pride in it. And so we want to focus on them, double down on our base first. And so we're going to do that. And I think we'll put the video, we'll develop a dedicated web page, have the video on it, have some projects on it, and look to use some of our current assets in the marketing mix that we have, use our own communications tools, and really just focus in on our ridership base with this campaign effort. Some of the now projects that we have going on, obviously tomorrow our service starts on Sunday for Rapid 227. So that's going to be a really big one that we can really promote as how we're making transit better right now. Also, system cleanliness is another example. I know the rail operations team has done some things on that front to make it, to sanitize the system a little bit more and adding extra cleaning teams out there. So we're looking at, promoting some of the things that we're doing now through this first phase, but really focusing in on our current riders. Now, as we move on into phase 2, this is really kind of a point where we can engage with those former riders and non-riders. I think during that first phase 2, we'll do some research of the former riders and non-riders that I had mentioned earlier. And so with the data that we have from that can help inform our messaging for this phase 2 with this audience. But we want to be a little bit more assertive with our calls to action and what we're doing to improve the system. This is really when special events are going to come into full swing for 2024. Padre season is going to start up. We're going to be introducing, the board approved that tap to pay option. We anticipate that that'll be up and running where people can just tap a credit card on the validators rather than having to get a pronto fare for that. And so that'll be another thing that we can improve, talk about during this phase 2. Also some service changes taking place in June. Maybe there'll be some improvements along those lines as well, and any other SB 125 funded improvements that we'll be making during this phase. So this will probably pick up some of the digital advertising, and continue to use our own inventory. We still want to flesh out some of the ideas and strategies and tactics, but we wanted to definitely come to you first and give you a little bit of information as to the direction that we're headed and get some feedback for you before we start really diving into exactly how we're going to push these 3 phases. Third phase, we envision this is really when we're starting to gain momentum. This is when we're going to have a lot of that data. We've seen what worked with Now Better Transit. We've seen what we need to improve on. We'll have that research. We'll be able to hone in our messages and really see what's working and what's not working. We'll have some projects continuing to take shape that we'll be able to promote as now projects. So I think this is really when we'll look to increase our advertising spend during this phase and really get a big push going through from September to December as schools are coming back, as improvements are being made. And I think this will really help us with our ridership recovery efforts in this phase 3 typically. And so I think in FY24 is really where we'd like to see some major increases and seeing those days and those weeks where we're getting to that pre-pandemic level. And beyond. And so we think we can really make some progress on the ridership recovery during the next year and having this vehicle for Now Better Transit to talk a lot about the improvements that are being made over the next year. So with that ends the presentation. I appreciate your time, Chair and members of the Executive Committee, and we'll be happy to take any comments, suggestions, and take some questions as well. So thank you very much, Chair.
Thanks for that report. I did want to tell you that when Quincy and Mark first pitched this whole thing to me, they brought it to me with this video from Folgers. It was a new campaign by Folgers. And if some of you are probably too young to know what Folgers even is, but it's it's that crazy coffee that's in a.
We
like
look
a
younger than we are.
Anyway, but they did this whole rebranding and, it's hip and you should try Folgers again, but the product was exactly the same. And so it failed. It was a failed campaign because, everybody tries it and it ends up being the same old, same old. So what they pitched to me was, this is not the same old, same old. And so for over a year, we've been meeting with every facet of our organization, talking to the employees. I would go in, they'd give the whole spiel, the marketing piece, and then the employees would tell us what needs to be improved. Things like the lighting is bad out on the orange line. We need to fix the lighting. We need to have more security positioned at stations at night. We need to have cleanliness. We need and there was some of them were really simple and some of them were really specific to a certain station or a bus stop. And so it was really great because we immediately went out and started doing things like, let's inventory all the lights at all the trolley stations and fix them, and have a program of fixing them. It's not something that we weren't already aware of, but it was a re-energized effort on the part of all the staff. So it wasn't just the marketing department saying, here's what our approach is going to be. It was everybody kind of bought into it. And so that was the exciting part of the initiation of this process. And now we're going to try to launch this into the public realm in a really exciting way.
Very good. Thank you, CEO Cooney, Mr. Olson, Ms. Marin. Let's see if there's any public comment.
We do have public comment, the original DRA. Please unmute yourself now.
So, it's nice and all you guys want to rebrand yourself, but part of that has to do with going into all of this new technology and new fleet that you call green or zero, whatever. And I feel like when we are talking about safety and, you want more people to ride this, first of all, you could have more free rider days. Like you could do it like once a month probably and get more riders. But at the same time, when you're trying to put them in a fleet that is actually dangerous to them, it's like when we go into a building and there's cancer causing agents, there's a Prop 61 or whatever, 65 that has to be posted. And so as you sit here and, you know, want to change your fleet into something new because you want to, that's part of your plan, you know, are you going to be telling people that the, you know, bus or whatever that they're going to be riding in can potentially blow up or start a fire? Are you going to put more fire extinguishers and stuff like that? I just, you know, the more you want people to ride, I think it's good that you want that, but not when you're doing this kind of fleet because it's literally putting them in danger. And probably not on the trolleys and different things like that, but any of the shuttles or, you know, buses that you're going to be putting them in, and even just those charging stations. Like, are you making the bus drivers
30 seconds
aware
left.
of the dangers of, you know, riding in one of those and being near one of the charging stations, because the radiation is off the charts. And I just don't understand how you can talk about safety on one hand, which I mean, this is more for the riders and like providing security, but how are they safe when they're riding this and they could potentially die doing it? And you want to incentivize them to get on there. I mean, I just don't understand why it's like not even in your purview to want to look
Your
at
time
and make
has
sure these
expired.
people are safe.
That concludes public comment, Chair.
Thank you very much, Clerk. We will now open board discussion on this item. This is an informational item, so no motion is required, and we'll begin with Member Moreno.
Thank you. First and foremost, thank you for the presentation. I enjoyed the video. But I'm a little confused. Is this the action recovery, ridership recovery action plan, or is this the marketing part of the recovery plan?
Well, I think the ridership recovery, the plans associated with that are with the different projects that MTS has identified through going through this process. And then there's the marketing vehicle associated with it, which is the Now Better Transit. So it's kind of like parallel paths, right? And so we have identified, 30 plus projects, as Quincy mentioned, and, in their various stages of development. So I think that's more associated with the ridership recovery plans.
Okay.
And then this is the marketing vehicle to push
Gotcha.
that out and package it up for the public to communicate it in the most effective way possible.
Which the marketing plan, absolutely love. The projects, I don't know what they are. I would love to see an actual plan. So thank you. That was a really good segue to this comment that, what are the actual projects? And the other thing is we spent a lot of money on the social equity listening tour, and it would be great to see what the social equity listening tour found, how is that married into the actual plan? I would definitely like to see that. The one kind of caveat that I would add, or the part that made me a little bit uncomfortable, because for the past 5 years, I feel like I've been really pushing for our service levels for our actual riders to be upgraded, whether that be whatever it is, right? I guess I should say it, whether it be sidewalks or the bathrooms or safety, those types of service upgrades. I've been pushing for that for the Blue Line, specifically for folks in my communities. And there seems to be a big focus on more of the marketing, right? More bringing special events folks, which I don't think, it's not one against the other, but it's been really heavily focused on special events. And we've really, in my opinion, have the experience of our backbone riders have been left behind, if you will. And we've heard it throughout the past 5 years with folks coming and telling us. So I would suggest that we push more heavily on the actual riders that we do have right now and their experience. And I just heard a lot, special events, which is great, but, and then also on slide 11, I should finish my thoughts on that. I would like for us to focus on business, actual business. We get more business from people we do business with already. So that would be a comment that I would, and I'm really happy to see this, I should say. And so don't take any of this, personal. It's my responsibility to advocate for my community and to advocate for the riders that come from my community. So this is, through this lens is what my response is coming from. Also on slide 11, if you don't mind going back to oh no, that was the projects. Would want to see the actual plan come forward. And, did I have anything else? I think that was it. But all in all, thank you, for the presentation. I thought, I love the video. I'm a visual person. I love the history. The only thing I wanted to ask, how much did that video cost?
Marcial made it all in-house, so.
Wow. You made it all in-house?
It was in-house. We scripted it. Marcial developed it with our team.
That's wonderful. Congratulations on that. We heard a lot about videos in Mexico City and the different things that their Mexican counterparts in the tourism industry are doing, and they were throwing out really high figures on how much it costs. So kudos to you and your team. The other focus that I would say is regarding the amount of money that we spend in the future. I think we should take note how much money we spend on the social media aspect or the marketing aspect of it compared to the actual projects that come forward, the cleanliness projects and the safety projects and the service level projects, which I think it's hard to have a discussion because we don't know the plan yet, which is, I think, encompassed. Is that slide 11? Then I meant slide 1 before one. It's hard to tell the next one. I don't know which one it is.
I
So
think
the
it
one
was
that
campaign
shows
development.
the projects that you said, it says slide 11, 10 or 11, campaign development. Yeah, I think this is the meat of the actual plan and we don't have anything before us to say yes or no. So I think I would like to see a presentation on this and what it is and how you came about to picking each project. And I hope that it encompasses part of the social equity listening tours. But thank you. And once again, just blown away by the video. Love it. And that concludes my comments, Chair. Thank you.
Chair, if I could, you brought up an excellent point. And the fact that we've done all these other efforts does not say this 30+ projects is a static list. It's definitely not a static list. I'll give you some examples of what is coming out of it. And it's really just an energizing of the workforce that they come up with some ideas that really speak to what this whole campaign is about, improving MTS. And, for instance, the trolley facilities group has been going out and quietly doing, kind of low budget, but high impact improvement projects at our trolley stations. 25th and Commercial, for instance, it's a beautification project that they were able to accomplish very quickly, but it makes a lot of impact to the riders. It makes them feel like we've invested something. Buyer Boulevard, we are putting in a improvement project. Our grants team said, how can we improve this area? And they worked with the CVOs in the area and got a grant that we were just awarded this week. So we're going to be doing that. It's all generating out of this sense of we are all in this together and we're going to come up with projects, in a very spontaneous way, but also in a very organized way as well. So we have these projects that came out of the very organized MTS experience meetings that we held with staff. But we're not stopping there. We're adding to it. And the social equity listening tour came up with its own sets of projects. We came up with, and we brought those to the board. But that doesn't mean we're not going to look at everything through the lens of social equity. We always will. I can tell you of other things. For instance, we got the SB 125 money, which we did take to your committee, the budget committee, and we'll be taking that same presentation to the board next week. But that gives us the opportunity to really focus some money towards improving the actual service, to your point of the existing riders. How do we make it a better experience for them? We don't want them waiting for an hour for a bus at night. If we can improve that experience, that really will go towards our riders and their benefit. So it's multifaceted. What the marketing team here is to show you is that we're going to be getting that message out, that MTS is improved and improving as we go along.
My problem with what you just said is that the title of this is Ridership Recovery Action Plan. And what I heard today was a marketing plan. I don't disagree with that marketing plan, but what I'm saying is that that title is not what you presented here today. And that's my issue. And I'm not saying that you're not doing that or that MTS is not doing that. I don't disagree. It is happening. But the problem is that this is what we're talking about. And I can't go to my constituents, my ridership writers and say, yeah, we have an action plan. This is the recovering action plan. We have a marketing plan and they say they have 30 plus projects. What are the projects? I can't tell you. And if that means that different facets of MTS has to put in their piece of what has already happened, for instance, in the cleanliness side and the safety side, that's fine, but present it to us. Present it to us with the meat of the actual plan. The marketing plan, loved it. It was great. But this is something that I've been asking for the past 5 years, which I'm really happy that it's here. Maybe not 5 years, right? Maybe like 3. And I'm happy it's here, but I'm saying and I won't go into the presentation that you gave us into the budget, but there's still a lot of missing parts that I think this board should absolutely weigh in on. Absolutely. And that the community should absolutely weigh on. So I would like to have a more substantive action plan that we can say yay or nay to, that the community can decide to come and speak on or not. But what we were presented was a marketing plan. Thank you.
Excuse me, Member Bush.
Yeah, so really want to thank staff for the work on this, and piggybacking off of member Moreno's comments, which I do agree with. I think that some of those components I would second that. I would suggest including that into this for the next before the next board meeting. So something about cleanliness. So some more there, as well as someone who represents National City. And definitely on the blue line, the highest ridership. So not saying you guys aren't doing that, but maybe including some more information about what you're already doing. Having said that, so that's just some constructive feedback. But having said that, very proud of your guys' work. I'm very impressed. I've just being around town, being on the trolley, I see it. I see the promotion. I see the marketing, the special events we're having, and I think that's really needed because yes, we still do want to reach out to those attract new riders, right? We want to take care of the riders we have, and there's always room for improvement there. But especially the special events, the events at Snapdragon Stadium or at downtown, I think it's really good, and it kind of piggybacks off of those events that are already popular. Now adding to it the promotion of our system and letting people know, and at the same time improving, enhancing the experience in terms of safety, in terms of cleanliness. I see that. I feel like the system, I feel like there's more ridership. I feel like we're on a recovery. So just really appreciate all of staff's hard work on this. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the presentation, maybe some enhancements to the presentation that talk about some of the points that Member Moreno was talking. Otherwise, great job.
Yeah. Member Bush, you made a good point about the special events, and to the idea that we're not just focusing on special events just to gain those new riders. It's because it might gain new riders. People take it once and see it's easy, and they've lost that misconception they had that it's hard and it's unsafe. But really, it really shows the value of transit to the whole community. They see that we can help drive the economic survival of San Diego and the thriving of San Diego by using transit. And if that gets us more, kudos and more funding, ultimately, if it makes people say investments in transit are an investment in our community that is important, then that is, really the highlight. We just came back from a conference and people were talking about the Swifties, and, Washington Metro had, they went and did a whole campaign about Taylor Swift, and, how in one of her videos, she was on a train, and, so they repurposed that into a campaign for take Metro, just like Taylor Swift does, so, I mean, people see that and they say, oh, That's right. The transit is important and it's, something that really drives the economic success of our region.
I think it does, and it's kind of because transit can't just be about the technical, the wonky, and yes, we always have to prioritize our existing riders, but changing the culture of it too, because there is kind of a subculture of transit, even on social media. There's a group called Numtots. It's new urbanist memes for transit oriented teens, and so that's like this group of, and it tends to be a little bit of a younger generation, but not exclusively. And it's people who are passionate about transit, who promote it and see all the environmental benefits, all the environmental, all the cultural benefits, just getting to know each other, meeting your neighbors and talking to people. So there's a lot of social benefits too. So so all of this, so even with this Taylor Swift and the Swifties or whatever artist that's popular, with whether it's Beyonce, I don't care who it is, that's something that I think it's a good opportunity to capitalize on, and let's take care of our riders too. So we can walk and chew gum at the same time too. So yeah, let's do that.
Thank you, Member Bush. Well, Mr. Olson, Ms. Marin, great job. And Mr. Gutierrez, great job with the video. I really, in watching that video, thought it connotes pride in the transit system and talks about the history, some of the improvements that have been made. It has a clean and friendly feel. It seems to communicate exactly the flavor that the team was describing that we want to communicate. I also appreciate that this plan is based on considerable research, including of riders, people who used to ride but haven't lately, people who've never ridden. I think that a lot of thought has gone into how to communicate with those different audiences, and I appreciated your including that thinking in the presentation. And I do think that communication and marketing is really key to our ridership recovery. We absolutely have to improve the system for our current riders. I'm proud of what this board and the staff have been doing to accomplish that, and the funding decisions that we've been making based on the social equity listening tour and other input that we have received from riders and former riders and non-riders and our staff. But to get the numbers up, we need people to come back, and we need new riders, and we need to communicate the improvements that this board and this staff have been making in order to get people to get back on board. So I really appreciate the value of what you're bringing forward. The extra service and the marketing that we're doing around special events, I think is important as well. People taking transit to the stadium for a concert or a game, they may be taking transit for the first time. So it's an opportunity for them to see our transit system and to see it today with all the improvements that have been made. So I know a lot of work goes into that special event service in a lot of different levels. So thank you to all the staff involved in that. I also think that the advertising spend at the end of next year is going to be important. That will be not only good for MTS and for transit, but that's going to be good for our community and good for the environment, because the more people that we can get riding transit through our advertising, I think we do the community a real service through that marketing. So thank you again very much, and I will hand it off to Member Ela Rivera.
Thank you, Chair. I apologies for not hitting it earlier. Just got my mind going a little bit. Thanks for all the work on this. Definitely appreciate the comments of my colleagues. Two questions. One, in terms of how we do the marketing, do we ever utilize influencers on social media in a paid way, where we're doing some kind of targeting of folks who otherwise meet the kind of demographic prototype of who is often to ride or would most benefit from riding, but isn't necessarily doing that yet? That's the first question, and then I have a second after that.
Well, thank you for that question. And yes, we do use influencers. We've done it on a couple occasions recently. Most recently is Coldplay. That concert, we developed a marketing partnership with them where we provided some transit passes at no cost to a limited number of fans. And in turn, what they did is they promoted taking transit on their own platforms with millions and millions of followers. So it came directly from the band itself, because they're very much a sustainable band, and they want to promote transit in their market. So they were willing to do that, and that really helped us just get our message out. And so that was a huge help. Another one we've done is with SD Foodies, which is a a blog,
That's
on
actually
Instagram.
exactly what I had in mind.
Yeah. And so we've done that, and they have a very large following, and they will take transit trips from specific locations to places that are near transit that serve great food, and just promote those restaurants and promote taking transit to those restaurants. And so we've developed a plan with them as well. And so they've been great to work with and developing those kind of transit trips to food destinations.
Awesome. Thank you for that. It's somewhat related. I'm curious about what sort of opportunities there are to partner with businesses to incentivize. So through that partnership, where MTS or perhaps building out some partnerships with the economic development departments of the cities in the region. Maybe there's a discount at the restaurant if you ride transit, and MTS and the cities are helping subsidize that discount. If we tried things like that, there's a kind of a dual benefit there in terms of economic development, but also encouraging folks through businesses that they're familiar with, comfortable with, and trust about the benefits of transit.
Yes, we've done that in the past. We did that during the pandemic to help local businesses recover, where we would provide, almost like a passport with stamps. And we connected with a bunch of businesses around our service territory to provide those cards, to provide stamps. And once somebody got a certain amount of stamps, they could go redeem that at a restaurant for a discount, or get a transit pass out of that, a month free or something, if they frequented a bunch of businesses, on that specific card. So we've done that to generate, and help the local economy. And I think it's certainly something that we could look at doing again as we start developing the strategies and tactics, particularly when we're focusing on our current riders and what we can do for them to increase the business, working with the businesses and frequenting the businesses in their local areas. So I think that's something that we should definitely look at again and look at renewing that.
Yeah,
during
and
this
to
campaign.
that point on the current riders, I think there's a lot of opportunity there to appreciate them for being riders. We're listening to the feedback that they have about their experience, and perhaps incentivizing them to share the changes that they've seen in response to the feedback they provided. I'd be really curious to see. I would imagine a longtime rider would feel really good about MTS if they were engaged in conversation about improvements they'd like to see made, seeing those made, and then been afforded an opportunity to share that story. And I don't think it can be discounted. We have to do, remember Bush said, walk and chew gum at the same time. The way that folks who are riding are talking about the experience, right? Is this something that I have to do, and I only do it because I have to, or is it something that I do and I maybe even have to, but I still appreciate it and think MTS does a really good job. There's a lot of opportunity there that I think, to Councilmember Moreno's point, don't want to take for granted the folks who are, keeping the system running right now. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, Member Elo Rivera. We are going to, well, first of all, thank you very much for the presentation. That concludes our conversation around this item. Good stuff. We're going to jump back and take up the approval of the minutes of the Executive Committee meeting on September 7th, 2023. Want to give just a moment in case anybody has public comment for them to go ahead and raise their hand or call in. After we do approval of the minutes, we'll take up an operational update, an informational item on the refugees and asylum seekers that MTS has been helping to serve. And we'll also look over our draft board agenda for next week. All right, approval of the minutes of the Executive Committee meeting on September 7th, 2023. Clerk, do we have any public comment on approval of the minutes?
We do. The original DRA. Please unmute yourself now.
So in the last meeting, you were, I think it's good that you were talking about adding a bathroom. I think that we need to be doing more of that and, instead of like beautification stuff, because if people, if they have to go to the bathroom, just seeing something look nice isn't going to make it so they don't have to go to the bathroom, but you could improve their ridership by providing more of that. So it's more, conducive for people to ride and they don't have to worry about, holding it or whatever. I think that we shouldn't be taking away parking spots. But whatever, you're gonna do that anyway. And then I also had mentioned, because you were bringing in some AI technology, I don't think that that is good because it's always leading up for things to be breached and whatnot. And just the way the AI technology is taking over, it's actually really dangerous. But I also, again, mentioned the health hazards of the electric vehicle charging centers, the radiation and like the workers and the people nearby and the passengers, if that's something that, you need to be making these people aware of, like I was saying in the last item, because if we're not, making people aware of the hazards that they are engaging in while riding these things, especially the workers, you're not doing right by them. It's
30
like the
seconds
city
left.
just was dealing with some asbestos stuff in, not telling the employees, and then having to deal with litigation. So I think it would behoove you guys to at least make people aware of it. Then it's up to them on whether or not they want to ride a lithium bomb. But if you don't tell them and then you have, you're going to have face litigation at another point because you guys aren't willing to be transparent with the people and what you're engaging in and what you're providing for them. It's negligent.
Your time has
So
expired. That concludes public comment, Chair.
Thank you, Clerk. All right, is there a motion to approve the minutes? We have a motion by Member Elo Rivera. I will go ahead and second that. Is there any further discussion on approval of the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the September 7th, 2023 minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. That motion carries unanimously. All right, we'll move on to item number 5. That is an operational update related to refugees and asylum seekers. And CEO Cooney will provide this presentation.
Sure. So all of you are probably involved in some regard with the efforts to assist with the individuals that are coming across the border and seeking asylum and refugees. We're also part of that at MTS, primarily due to the fact that they are dropping bus loads of people to add our transit centers. Iris Transit Center is the primary one. They dropped this morning 350 people at the center to be assisted to get to their ultimate destinations, which are primarily outside of the county, but they do need assistance and for at least a few days to try to get to the next destination. We also have a minimal amount of drop-offs at El Cajon Transit Center. It's like in the 5 to 18 range each day. And then Oceanside in North County as well. So this started in the early days of September, primarily right around the 13th and 14th of September. We started without any real warning, meaning that they didn't call us and let us know this was happening. We started seeing buses drop off people at the centers. And then we did get involved a lot more. The chair's office was bringing us on board to try to help us get more information about what the plans were and how these were ongoing. I did talk to Casa Familiar as early as September 14th when they were looking for assistance for transportation. At that time, we couldn't really assist with that because we're still in a driver shortage on the bus side. And that would have been a real challenge for us at the last minute to come up with buses. So we tried to think how we could assist, and we were included on a September 19th partners update with various stakeholders, including NGOs who were involved and the county, the cities, et cetera. At that time, I participated on that Zoom call. It was clear that a couple of things we could easily do at our Irish trolley stop was to enhance the Wi-Fi. They said they needed better Wi-Fi for people because, you know, they were using their phones to make their travel plans, and that was the way they were going to communicate with their loved ones as well, whoever they were going to go stay with. And so we immediately deployed a Wi-Fi enhancement at the location. And we also, I heard on the call that the staff who were assisting asylum seekers at the location really needed restrooms, basics. We weren't, the bus operators were not pleased with the idea of sharing their bathrooms with them. So we put our own porta-johns there for their specific use. And so we put them out right away. And then with regard to riding the trolley from there, we've instructed our officers that if there is somebody who's riding without a fare, but they are, you know, indicating that they are asylum seekers and that they were just going to their next destination, whether it's the airport, we did let them ride for free. So it wasn't a blanket. Everybody gets to ride for free on the Blue Line from now on. It was just simply more of a, you know, if they were in need, that we would allow that. And then we also deployed more ambassadors, more facilities people, and we've ramped up our number of personnel in the field to try to assist people with trip planning. And so it hasn't become more and more of an effort on the part of our staff. Briefly, they moved away from the idea of just operating out of the transit center, and we're then operating out of Casa Familiar's facilities. But then they have since moved back. And so we are trying to find out how we can assist in that regard. You know, some have asked, well, can we have a dedicated bus service, meaning from there to the airport? That would assist in driving people to the airport. We don't really have enough information at this point to say what that would look like, because we don't know, you know, how many people are going to go to the airport. You know, there's some talk with the county. They had an agenda item this week. It was reported in the paper that the $3 million towards this effort and transportation could be included in that. And so we don't know how that looks. We also don't know, because the county is saying they would like to move them to a more brick and mortar location rather than having them operate out of tents at the Irish trolley station. And we don't know where that location is yet. So it's hard to really kind of tell you what we could offer in regards to transportation at this point. You know, also airport operations, you know, everybody's not going to fly out at the same time. You know, are we going to be able to really bundle up various trips in order to achieve what's needed? Or would it be more as in taxi rides or Uber rides or things like that? And so, again, it's all up in the air. We do have the challenge of not having enough bus operators to operate our current transit service. So if we deploy people to these other, some other kind of operation, whatever that may look like, that would probably degrade the service on our existing network. Or we would force people to come in on their days off, which I don't think the operators would appreciate having to do that for very long. So it's not really a tenable long-term solution. So I just bring that up at this point. So we're kind of rolling with it and doing what we can to assist the efforts. And the county has since brought I think they brought in a truck with better Wi-Fi down to the Irish station. We've expanded their footprint down there, and they've also brought in their own portable restrooms. We ourselves, we're having a hard time keeping up with the trash and litter at the location. So we brought in a dumpster, and we're having that emptied every day. And our facilities people are out there cleaning all day long. So we'll keep doing what we're doing.
Thank you. And thank you to you and all the staff who are involved in the efforts around that. Clerk, do we have any public comments on this item?
We do. The original DRA, please unmute yourself now.
Man, this is so sad because you guys will sit here and put in things immediately for those that aren't even going to benefit from it for the long run. And the people, you act like, well, we can't do that. We don't have money for bathrooms. Then all of a sudden you're going to put porta johns in so that they can use them. This is just sad because, and then, everybody might as well just say that they're asylum seekers so that they can ride the transit for free. Cause you're not going to do anything about it. This is so absurd because we're doing this for people. Not all these people are asylum seekers. Many of them are middle-aged military men. And a lot of those men, some of them will be coming with a child, trafficking the child. They don't know nothing about the child. And it's just sad that we're like watching human trafficking go on before our eyes. We're having an invasion of our nation. And then people are none the wiser. It's like these men that come across can sit there and get into the military and the police department. You don't even have to be a US citizen. So what we're doing here is perpetuating the problem, acting like we need to help these people all while our people suffer. It's like there's never enough money for those that are here or enough, we can't provide things. I mean, you can't even provide enough rides because you don't even have enough employees. So your whole report about like making things better is also obsolete because you can't even provide better service. And you're having to figure out, oh, are we going to make people come in on their day off just to help these people? What
30
the hell
seconds
is
left.
going on? I mean, this is very sad that we can sit there and be like, immediately we're going to get, because they need to use the Wi-Fi, because they need to get, it's bizarre that we can do these things and have the people here suffer just because you want to, go along to get along and act like this is people seeking asylum. That is the last thing that is going on. Pay attention and quit lying to the people
Your time
and
is
wasting
expired.
our money.
That concludes public comment, Chair.
Thank you, Clerk. Well, let me open board discussion on this item by thanking board members Vargas, Elo Rivera, Moreno, Montgomery Stepp that I'm aware of, and likely others who have reached out and provided assistance as the federal government has been dropping off refugees and asylum seekers at the Iris Avenue Transit Center. Also appreciate Member Vargas for leading the County of San Diego's efforts and providing additional bathrooms and wash stations to help with our operations. Again, I also want to thank the MTS staff, CEO Cooney and Julia Tour, and many others for all their work arranging drop-offs and bathrooms and transportation and Wi-Fi at the center. There has been a lot that has gone into the MTS assistance, and I greatly appreciate my chief of staff, Jacob O'Neill, who has spent many hours in meetings and on the phone and on Zoom, helping to coordinate those efforts. At the request of board members, I've also been working with MTS staff to continue these efforts as more asylum seekers and refugees will continue to be dropped off at the Iris Avenue Transit Center, at least for now. And as CEO Cooney mentioned, the county is looking for a longer term solution at one of its former health and human services facilities. They've requested that MTS provide bus services from the new location to the airport. Rather than the chair unilaterally making a request of staff, I would like to get input from this executive committee on what considerations you would like us to prioritize in evaluating that request, and any input on what you would like to see us bring forward to the full board. So happy to hear any comments that the executive committee members would care to offer. Member Elo Rivera.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say thanks for the cooperation that you and your team have provided in conversations with my team, especially Julio. I'm appreciative that we're trying to do this. I think it's important. I think it's important to provide folks who are in circumstances that the overwhelming majority of us could never even imagine being in, an opportunity to get to their family or a place of safety. I think there is incredible benefit to that for our community. And obviously for those individuals, I think we're rising to a moral challenge as well that we should be proud of. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a very, very worthy effort, and I'm glad we're participating in it, and very much appreciate the approach you've taken, and we'll continue to support that.
Thank you very much, Member Elo Rivera. All right, seeing no further discussion on this item, thank you again for the presentation, and we will certainly continue to keep the board and the community posted as this continues to develop. All right, let's go ahead and move on in the agenda. We'll continue with our other items, and we'll begin with a review of next week's draft MTS board agenda.
One comment, we've been trying to bring the airport item, the trolley to there, or I'm sorry, rail to the airport item to the board, but unfortunately, the Sandag staff has told us that no one's available to present, so we'll have to move that to November.
Okay. Any further comments, questions on the draft agenda for next week's board meeting? Seeing none, we will see if there are any other staff communications or business to consider today. Seeing none, are there any committee member communications or other business? Seeing none, our next meeting date is going to be November 2nd of 2023. And with that, thank you, everybody. This meeting is adjourned.